Hello everybody, I see you're here because of my tactical thumbnail. Anyway, the BattleBots 2020 promo was released this week and I'm so excited because a bunch of fights were shown off, and in addition to that, on the Hollywood Reporter website in the USA, a bunch of pictures were released of fights that have happened, including the one in the thumbnail, which is absolutely mad. But anyway, my opinions on that will be coming later. First of all, BattleBots 2020 updated their cover thumbnail thing. They've got Sharko going on there, some very nice graphics, and of course showing off the new logo, which is fantastic. Let's take a look at the commercial now.
Oh my god, look at that bot. It is so big.
It looks like one of those BattleBots.
I like big robots and they cannot lie. For the robots can be eye. When the robots and spots can be some bots, well, they could get flung, could crash. Nowhere to hide from flame or flash. Look out when they attack, cause BattleBots are back.
Now about the commercial, I really like it. I think it's quite catchy. People aren't going to be forgetting that BattleBots is coming on because it's going to be stuck in their head like a nuisance. Other people have been saying it's cringy. I think it's like a delicate balance between the both. But we're not here to talk about that. First of all, the series is airing on December the 3rd. This was already confirmed by the Pain Train team a while ago, but official confirmation from BattleBots that in America on Discovery, you will be able to watch it on December the 3rd. And as for the rest of us, we're going to have to find an episode through other means, let's say. Anyway, on to the first fight that was confirmed in that trailer. We see Valkyrie fighting Rotator in what looks to be an absolutely spectacular fight. So let's analyse what's going on here. First of all, Rotator's got like some wedge going on. It's like they've got their 2018 kind of armour on the sides and they've got a new kind of wedge. I really like it. I think it looks really smooth. And it looks closer to the Rotator with the double blades. It's good to see that they've got that configuration there. Can't see where the blade is, so maybe either Valkyrie's already ripped it off or something else has happened. I don't even know. But lots of sparks as Valkyrie flies off the top of Rotator, and of course in this little bit here underneath the red B on the floor, I see a little bit of damage. Either that's a piece that's come off or it's damage to the floor. Anyway, in terms of who's going to win this fight, to be honest, I think Valkyrie, because it's got a way of getting underneath the wedge and hitting the wheels. Of course, Rotator's got the sloped armour. It's just going to allow Valkyrie's undercut to get straight underneath, chop those wheels off, and just cause systematic destruction from there. So, going to be honest, I think Valkyrie is going to win this fight, but it's not one that I thought that they would do, so I'm very, very excited to see who would win that. Moving on, we have Tantrum versus Atom94. Atom94, the first Indian robot ever in BattleBots. And Tantrum with the punching spinner and flamethrower arms. I'm really, really hyped for this fight. First of all, we get to see what Atom94 actually does in the arena. In this little bit of the commercial, it gets thrown through the air by Tantrum, and that is a good thing because Tantrum's disc works. Like last season, it had absolutely no power to whatsoever. Either it didn't have enough mass or whatever. This year, it looks a lot bigger. It looks a lot like they've prioritised the weapon more, and thus it is throwing Atom94 through the air, causing more sparks than the rest of Sawblazer's fights combined, and absolutely just throwing it through the air, and Atom94 landing, not sustaining too much damage by the looks of things. All the weapon belts are still intact, so that's going to be a close fight. It's really good to see that they're advertising some of the robots that people haven't heard about so much. Like last time we never really saw Tantrum in an advert. It was always big names like Tombstone and Bronco. It's good to see that they're celebrating some of the like less well-known teams, so great job from BattleBots there, and great job from Tantrum as well. Moving on, we have Uppercut versus Gemini. I love this part of the commercial because, first of all, Uppercut's fist, it just is so cool because it's an asymmetrical spinner in the shape of like a punching fist, and you literally see it punching Gemini in slow motion through the air. It is so perfect because it's literally giving Gemini an uppercut. And also, we get to see what Gemini actually looks like in comparison to the other robots. Here they've gone for their kind of double clusterbot configuration. Obviously they can go with the single clusterbot if they want to, but here they can go with the double clusterbot, and they've done so with Uppercut. So anyway, Gemini, the other clusterbot, is nowhere to be seen in this picture, but Uppercut sends the other one flying regardless. I'm a bit worried about Gemini's spinner, I have to say, because they have a configuration where they can just put a massive 125-pound chunk of armor on one of the robots and run it as a single heavyweight robot, but those spinners look really small. Like, here they look really fragile, and they look like they're going to fall out like last time. Like, remember last time, Gemini spinners got damaged very easily. Lucky was able to damage them just by ramming into them, so obviously Uppercut's done some damage here, and I think this will be a pretty easy fight for Uppercut, so long as they don't break down or have reliability issues. Can I just say how much I love the look of the new Uppercut? The black and red is so nice. I just love it. Moving on, we have Bloodsport versus Scorpios, and I am so hyped for this fight. Like, oh my goodness. We've got Bloodsport throwing Scorpios to one side and getting chucked completely in the same process. They've got their tri-bar on by the looks of things. I can't see any disc or anything there, so Bloodsport, of course, has their tri-bar. Scorpios has their red saw blade, which is an interesting choice, since I don't see a situation where they'd get Bloodsport stopped and have time to bring the saw blade down. So Scorpios looks like it's going defensive in this fight. It just depends on Bloodsport's reliability. If it's able to survive the whole fight, then I'd give that fight to Bloodsport, no problem. Can I just say, the new Bloodsport is absolutely amazing. Like, I'm definitely going to be rooting for them this season, as well as Kronos and Copperhead, because it's just amazing. It just looks absolutely fantastic. And especially when it's hitting something and flying through the air. I've never been the biggest fan of Scorpios, but it's always good to see them fight. They always put on a good show, and they're a very nice team as well. So I'm very much looking forward to this matchup. Moving on, we have Chomp fighting Ghost Raptor. First of all, great to see that Chomp passed the safety test and made it into the arena. It looks absolutely massive. Compared to Ghost Raptor's not even that big. Not even that small. Ghost Raptor's quite a big machine, and compared to Chomp, it looks absolutely tiny. We get a good view of the floor, and there's been very little damage to the floor, just a few scrapes here and there. Chomp, of course, with its turret turning around, shooting flames at Ghost Raptor, who doesn't appear to be spinning. So, of course, Chomp's turret works. The hammer is tucked in nice and safe, obviously waiting for Ghost Raptor to approach and attack them. Ghost Raptor isn't spinning, which is concerning, since I don't know how they're going to damage Chomp by not spinning. That lifter is definitely not capable of lifting a 500-pound robot, in my opinion. It might do, but I don't know. But it's not spinning, so I don't see how they're going to attack Chomp. And of course Chomp has the turret, so whenever Ghost Raptor tries to turn around and get to the side, Chomp can just turn around and hit it with the hammer. Of course, in this commercial we can also see Chomp actually turning with its legs, which means it's quite manoeuvrable as well for a walking robot, which is fantastic. So I'm very excited, and I'm going to be honest, I think Chomp has the upper hand in this fight if Ghost Raptor isn't spinning, so a Chomp victory against a former semi-finalist, who would have guessed? Moving on, we have Malice, the horizontal spinning drum, versus Axe Backwards, and Malice is tiny. Like, I did not anticipate it was going to be this small. I thought it was quite big, but it is very small compared to Axe Backwards, and Axe Backwards is also quite a small machine, so a battle of two small machines here. There's a big fire going on over there. I don't know if it's Axe Backwards that's on fire, or if there's a mini-bot that we haven't heard about. Regardless of what's happening, Axe Backwards is in a lot of trouble there. They're not spinning by the looks of things. Malice's drum looks absolutely terrifying as it spins, and Axe Backwards is just being consumed by flames. Somebody else mentioned that it could be a third robot, and this could be a rumble. I don't see a third robot anywhere. It's either a mini-bot or a lipo fire on Axe Backwards. Neither of them is going to be a good matchup here. This, in my book, is an easy win for Malice. Moving on, we have Copperhead making P1 do backflips. Like, what? Obviously, I love Copperhead. I think it's an amazing machine, but I also love P1. P1 is fantastic. It's motorsports and robot combat combined, and you lot know my opinions on that. And of course, Copperhead, in this little clip, sends P1 doing like backflips. It sends it flying through the air. Of course, there's a lot of sparks in the process. Of course, Copperhead is more than capable of dealing out massive hits. They took a massive hit from Sao, they gave a massive hit to Kronos, and it looks like they're giving a massive hit to P1 in this case, and that is good to see. If they continue to do that, then of course it will be a good win for them. And it's interesting because P1, it was kind of lower tier last season, and Copperhead was definitely upper tier. So it's interesting that they've been matched together. Maybe P1's won a few fights and has earned its right to fight something that almost made the top 16. So I'm hopeful for P1 if they've been put against Copperhead that early on in the tournament. Moving on, our penultimate fight shown in the commercial is Slapbox versus Sharko. In this clip we see Sharko biting down onto the really long lifter of Slapbox, and then Slapbox using the lifter and just picking up Sharko and carrying it around everywhere because Sharko's still gripping onto the lifter. First of all, we've all wanted to see Sharko clamp down onto something, and it's done that. It clamped down onto the really long nose of Slapbox, and then Slapbox with the reversal has just been like, yeah right, you're gonna bite my nose, I'm gonna suplex you with my nose, and just absolutely picks Sharko up and humiliates it by carrying it all over the arena. Great to see. I wonder if they can get them out of the arena with that. Another thing I've noticed, there is fire. I don't know if that's just a fire inside Sharko or if they've got a flamethrower that they've not told us about. I think it's a fire in Sharko because it's coming out the back of the head in this bottom right picture here, which is interesting. There's some damage on the other side of the arena there, so maybe Slapbox has been damaged by Sharko or vice versa. I have absolutely no idea how this fight's going to turn out. I would say Slapbox because their lifter can do more stuff, it's wider, it's longer, and Sharko's not got a lot of surface area on the end of the flipper, and even if they flip Slapbox over, Slapbox is going to self-right and carry on. So Slapbox win, in my opinion. Then while they were announcing the date for the new season, we see Lockjaw fighting Shrederator in the background, and that must mean that Shrederator has done well, or won some fights, because Lockjaw is a top 8 robot last season, and a top 4 robot before that, and Shrederator has never made the top 16. So either Shrederator has performed really well in its first fight and is fighting Lockjaw as a second, or they've just given Shrederator an absolute wildcard fight here and put it up against, I wouldn't call it an elite robot, but a very successful robot. So I'm expecting big things from Shrederator if they're being put up against Lockjaw. Now, to talk about the tactical thumbnail. Mammoth versus Huge is a thing, apparently. Discovery Channel actually released this themselves, and it's a picture of Mammoth fighting Huge. And let's analyse this picture to death, shall we? So we see Mammoth without its tail, which is interesting, and they've got this really weird lifter thing going on there. It's like a lifter that's been bent, or a flexible lifter. I have absolutely no idea, because it's got a hold of Huge, flipped itself forwards, lifted up Huge slightly, and Huge is just kind of chilling in a very awkward position while Mammoth is face planting the floor. So in terms of who's going to win this fight, I think it's going to be Huge, because it actually has a spinner that can cut poles and things, and I think this is the year where BattleBots is listening to all of our requests, because our next fight is Tombstone versus Endgame, a fight that has been long overdue. This should have happened in 2018 when Endgame were like, right, I want to take Tombstone, I want to fight Tombstone. 2 years later, we finally got that matchup. Tombstone in this fight is pictured with Endgame, and Endgame is spinning. Tombstone is spinning slower because its bar is not blurring, so Endgame is in a good position to attack Tombstone there. I wonder if they'll take advantage of that. Of course, Endgame, has its massive scoop at the front, and it's got the massive vertical spinner, and everything about it is just power. And Tombstone, it's not a good matchup for Tombstone. 4 wheels and a vert is just not a good matchup for Tombstone. They've lost to Witchdoctor before, they've lost to Bite Force before. Endgame has got more power than Bite Force, I'd argue, in that spinner. They just need the durability and the reliability to back it up, and that's what let them down last season. So that will be interesting to see who wins that fight. It's going to be the first main event, that's all we know. Moving on, we have Hydra versus Witchdoctor. An absolutely mental fight. Of course, in this picture we see Witchdoctor in the air levitating, and Hydra lifting it up a little bit, not actually throwing it through the air, which is interesting. And of course, Hydra suffered with sturdiness and actual reliability last season because they took one hit from Minotaur and died. They need some better armor, they need to have made improvements to that. Team Y Archie is interesting because they take what's the weakness of the robot and they focus on that. So I assume that they fixed the weak points on Hydra that allowed it to get beaten in one hit last season, because that was the biggest disappointment of the season. And especially against Witchdoctor as well, because Witchdoctor's just massive vertical spinner, extremely well driven. If Hydra manages to pull off a win against this thing, then I can see why people are saying it's going to win the championship, because Witchdoctor is an elite now. It just is. And more than capable of beating Hydra, but Hydra is more than capable of pulling off a surprise. Moving on, we have Kraken versus Black Dragon, and this was released a few weeks ago. And in this fight, we see Kraken biting down onto the top of Black Dragon, with Black Dragon's weapon belt is still intact there, so I think they're fine for now. Interesting that they managed to get Black Dragon in that position anyway. Either Black Dragon's having some issues with weapon reliability, or Kraken's just really good now. Of course, the flamethrower from Kraken shooting Black Dragon in the face. Excellent work from Kraken there. And that is that was the first matchup revealed this season, and honestly I would say that Black Dragon won it, but this picture tells me that Kraken is on top, so I wouldn't write off Kraken in this match. And then moving on, we have Endgame versus Bloodsport, and this picture tells a lot, because Bloodsport's wedgelets are all ripped off and missing, so they've taken a few big hits from Endgame. There's a wheel on the floor. It doesn't look like one of Bloodsport's, and Endgame's wheel, well, things are missing. A wheel on that right side, it looks like a wheel is missing there, so that's also very interesting. So this fight would be very, very close. From this picture, I'd say that Endgame is about to deliver an absolutely monster hit to Bloodsport on the underside of that bar, because Endgame delivers monster hits like that, and Bloodsport's bar isn't spinning. It's stopped against the frame of Endgame's spinner. Bloodsport can self-right when its weapon motor is actually working, but if their weapon motor goes down, they need the wedgelets to be able to push other robots around, and they are missing them in this fight, which is problematic for them. Again, a really close match. I genuinely cannot decide who would win that. I lean towards Endgame though. So, the description for the first episode is that Tombstone and Endgame are in the main event, and other competitors include Whiplash, Sawblaze, Captain Shrederator, Lockjaw, Bloodsport, and Scorpio. So I'd say that Whiplash and Sawblaze are probably facing off here, because Captain Shrederator is fighting Lockjaw and Bloodsport is fighting Scorpio. We know that. Joining Chris Rose and Kenny Florian is going to be Abraham. Pete Abraham? I don't know what his first name is. His surname's Abraham anyway. And he used to be on the Ronin team, and he's joining for like fight analysis kind of thing. Either he's going to be in the commentary team, or he's just going to be kind of after the fight giving some analysis. Either way is good. And anyway, this commercial was excellent. I really enjoyed it, and I am more hyped than ever for this next season of BattleBots. Don't miss it. It's going to be on soon. Most of you are American, so most of you can possibly watch it on Discovery, depending on whether you have cable or not. Hopefully you do, and we can give BattleBots the views it needs, because this season was a massive effort, and the fact that they've managed to do it successfully without infecting anyone is amazing. So great work from everyone at BattleBots, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.